A quick word about Cultural Connections, which is the company that I started with my wife, Cheryl, who's sitting down the back. We're basically committed to promoting understanding of a common humanity and also the richness of cultural diversity. And we do that in a number of different ways. We run training sessions in cultural and emotional intelligence. We run events like this one, conversations, and these are going to continue through next year. And next year also I'm hoping to take people to Peru for a cultural experience. So that's sort of what we do. We're about really promoting understanding and appreciation for diversity and for the richness of the different cultures that we have in this country and of course all around the world. But that's Peru. But we're not talking about Peru. That provides me the opportunity to sort of have a nice segue into Tibet, because that's the focus of today. And today I'm going to be talking to Kunchok Gyaltsen. We're calling the talk Escape to Freedom. Just a little bit of background on Kunchok before we begin. Kunchok was born in 1971 in Amdo in eastern Tibet. And you can see Amdo there in eastern Tibet. And he lived a nomadic life in a family of 6. He went to the monastery at age 14, mainly because of illness, and we'll perhaps talk about that a little bit more. He left Tibet in 1993 because he didn't like living under the oppression of the Chinese. We'll be talking about that. Went to Dharamsala, met his beautiful wife Helen, an Australian woman who was there. We'll find out a little bit about that as well. And came to Australia in 2005, sorry. Yes, 2005. And he's been here ever since, working in the disability sector, but Kunchok is a very passionate photographer, and so we're going to be sharing some of his images today. So we thought we'd start in a slightly unusual way. I invited Kunchok to start with a song, because song is very important in Tibetan culture, and so I've asked Kunchok to start with a nomad song. So Kunchok, if you'd like to start with a nomad song, that would be great.
When I sing, I usually stand up for more comfortable. Thank you.
Thanks, Kunchok. Tell us about that song.
The song about respect, and it's more like in environment. So it's all the grass grow up. You look after the land. Then when you look after the land, they grow up the grass. The grass they will, and the animals have to eat. So animals they will, then they feed the family, feed the people. So basically, everything is dependent on each other. So it sounds about
And singing is really important in Tibetan culture, isn't it?
It is. It's back where I come from, or when I'm young, we don't have an iPhone or iPad or TV or anything. So basically, they live life singing, and so whole village, whole children, so we sing, always sings. So basically also all the songs are like the respect, and nature, the animal care, and also love. So all the different. So and same time, all the songs about also the grandparents is basically teach children. So we can read, we can write, but we memorize. So the best time of the kids here, and the Friday night, the TV night, movie night, everybody. But we are when the little bit dark, the family come in the home. So we're excited the grandparents telling the stories. So that's the kind of the excited. So yeah, it is. So songs are always part of the real life.
So you were the eldest son in the family. Tell us a little bit about living life as a nomad, because I'm sure most people here wouldn't have much understanding of what that sort of life is like.
Excuse me, Phil, could Kunchok speak a little bit louder, please?
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Is that better?
That's better? Okay.
Thanks, Peter.
Sorry, yeah. So if I talk about the nomad life, so we need probably like a few days, not just 1 hour. But basic kind of, so I'm the oldest in the family, and we have 3 girls, 3 boys, so I'm the older one. So when I age 6, I think 6 or 7 years old, I already started cooking, look after my youngest one, clean up. So cooking for the family, and so especially around 7 or 8 years old. So mom and dad have to go work. Some days they can come make a night, come home. So I'm basically the look after them, and so nomadic life. So you live in basically summer in the tent, and so probably
So this is Amdo, where you grew up.
Yeah, this is the East Tibet, Amdo, where I come from. So actually that's me, and I put the tripod. I wanted to I'm in the photos. I put the tripod. I took myself. So, and that's that you see. That's where I come from, the village, and so the water is surround. So yeah, and this is basically my mom's birthplace. So most my young childhood grew up around there.
And you lived in a tent which looked a little bit like this?
Yes, I call this is kind of the modern nomadic. So because you see that there's tractors. When I grew up, we don't have that, and there's like the solar during the day they catch the sun, and nighttime they put TV and the lights. So we don't have that one. So, and I call kind of the modern nomadic. But so basically we surrounded like all the sheep and yaks, horse, and there's a nomadic dogs you see. So and so that was actually one of my really best photo. And, because everything one photo you can see that, and. Probably I will show that one's the horse already in the city. The saddle. I don't know how you use when you ride the horse, you have need this. Sorry. Saddle. Yeah.
Saddle. Yeah.
Yeah. So already, so basically whoever to look after the animal usually that's the lunch time. So he come back. Probably he's in the tent. So he just. When you look at so many details, I really quite liked this photo,
So what was a typical day? Would you get up, I suppose, with the crack of dawn, and what was a typical day?
The typical day is raining. And when you rain, you still have to go, for the animals, follow the animals. So it's rain or windy or whatever. So probably the raining days, they're really like typical. Also, you come back inside, and the waters come through the tents. So you have to move the surround everywhere, and it's.
So that was common, that it rained often.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and winter snow and summer rain. So But this is actually really kind of the before days, but yeah, not every day like this.
Now, you said you learned to cook when you were 6.
Yeah.
What sort of food did you cook? What sort of food did the family eat?
Oh, you know, just you cook the. We grew up there mainly. We don't have much vegetable back that time, so you know like mainly we have zamba. We call zamba, so made from the barley, and so zamba, cheese, butter.
So how do you cook the samba? Do you boil it or?
No. And the zamba is actually you first ground like the, you know the collected from the seed, and then you have it dry. And once you dry, and then you have to fry like a popcorn. So you need like a big like kind of the, you know, the saucepan. You put in the sand.
Right.
So heat the sand. Then you put in the barley like the, you know, the roll. You put it. So they kind of basically kind of the popcorn kind. So the ones they come up, so you bring. Then there's a big metal kind of made from the rock. So you put it through that rocks, crush the like the. You know all the seed, and then come from, you know, the small piece. So that's kind of the way back, and daily food. And then you milk it. The milk's made from the yogurt, cheese, butter, everything's from the milk. And then you wear the clothes from the, you know, the sheep skin. You wear your jackets and pants, and then the yak skins. You make the shoes. And then you ropes, you catch the animal, or you know things. So yeah, I say basically we not really like waste anything. When we kill the animal, that use basically everything we use.
Use everything.
Everything we use.
And I've heard from my wife who's been to Tibet that yak milk tea or yak butter tea is pretty a bit of special drink in Tibet.
Well, we usually we call it dru. So dru is a female yak, and so yak is like usually like the male. So, but we female that come from the milk and the baby, we call them dru.
Right.
But so then you know, so we're female yak or female like male. But so anyway, so the butter tea is not really common for the East Tibet. So
okay.
The butter tea is more Central Tibet.
Okay.
And East Tibet is kind of the tea is very simple, like
right.
Basically black tea and put milk. So,
right.
Yeah, but it's a female yak, the milk, so yeah, very strong, yeah.
So did you spend most of your days basically looking after the animals? Was that your responsibility?
Yes, depends really the whole family. The individual families have, you know, they do the responsibilities. Some family members have to go out for the you know, the jobs. Some families members look clean up, keep the house or tend the neat, and you know, like have to collect the downs, ready for the fire, things like that. Then some family members go out the animal, follow the animal, feed them, bring back. So yeah, individual all have the jobs.
All have their responsibilities.
Yeah. So I'm probably started cooking. That's my kind of responsibility. So I was maybe 5-6 years old.
So no education, no schooling?
No. So yeah, no school and no education. So yeah, so only get education when I was about 13 or 14 when I became monk, went to monastery. Right. So that's why I started like learning the Tibetan, you know, like readings and the writings. I started learning there. Yeah.
Did you have time for fun and games? Was that part of growing up as a as a kid too?
You know.
What sort of games did you play?
A lot, you know, throw the rocks and collect the rocks, the bones, wood, and so all the broken balls. You know, some of the balls broken. There's have a lot of flowers. So we collected all this stuff. So that we built the house. We built the kind of you know, like animal. All the animal have the bones. Each bones have you collected. You have there's names. You can use things. So we just collected to plan. And the children. So
you played with the animal bones.
Yes.
Right.
Lots, yeah.
Now life as a nomad means you're moving.
Yeah.
How many times during a year would you move?
Usually about summer 3 times. Then autumn 1, and then the spring sometimes 1 or 2, depends really it's enough for the grass and the animal. So that's always it depends. So if the not enough for the grass anymore, so we just move. So yeah, usually like we one place about like 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah, about 2 months.
And you'd always have to move to somewhere where there was water?
Water and the grass.
Water and grass?
Yeah.
Okay, so at about age 14, you moved to the monastery.
Yeah.
Now, how did that happen? I believe it was mainly because of illness that you ended up in a monastery.
Yeah, and as Tibetan traditional, or the way I come from, the East Tibetan tradition, usually if you have 2 or 3 sons, the older ones always have to look after the family and look after the parents and stay home. And then second or third one, the boys, they can go to the monastery, they send to the monastery,
right.
and so give an education. But I'm an older one, but I'm always feel, I don't know, some reason I want to go to the monastery, want to become monk, but my dad and my mom said, no, you're an older one, so you have to stay home, you have to look out. And then I was age 7 or 8, I was quite big sick, and then I started 10, 11, I think around that time, so I can't remember exactly really the year, but so I was really sick and I had a really big operation. And before operation, so where we come from, the area, there's one special Lama, so he usually do the dream and also he do the divination. So he's like a future teller. And so
future teller, okay.
Yeah, and my mom and my uncle went to see him. So asked him, so they wanted to, going to have to operation, but we don't really wanna. So what do you think? So then basically he said that if he sent to monastery after the operation, so if he sent to the monastery, he will survive. Otherwise, he not. And so that's the. So then of course my mom and my dad, my uncle, they wanted me to survive. So then once they do the operation, so then they want, I'm allowed to go monastery, become monk. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm just flicking through some of these images here.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to a photo. There's your mum and dad.
That's my mom and dad. Yes.
So they decided to send you to the monastery because for health reasons.
Yeah.
Just before we go to the monastery and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What sort of people were your mum and dad? What are your memories of your mum and dad?
They're both very different character. My mom's very kind, very loving, and not easy to angry. But once she angry, then she keep a really long time, like at least maybe 3-4 weeks. So she's really like, and so. But she's not really easily angry, so she's really generous.
So what sorts of things made her angry, Kunchok? Really angry, I mean?
Well, really angry. Really
what sort of things made her really angry?
I don't know, really, probably, something like a fight, we fight, or maybe smash another neighbors, the animal, or neighbors, the house, or whatever, something big damage, or something elderly, so you're upset, especially, the uncles or aunties, or like any kind of the elderly people make we upset, they really something we hurt them, that's make her really like angry.
Right.
Yeah, so. And so mom, but she's really like, loving and kind, and really not easy to angry. So my dad is very easy to angry. He's very short temper, but then he's easy to like, and so usually my mom said, you like, the boiled milk, milk's coming up to go back quickly. So he's very.
So your dad's boiled milk.
Yeah, so he's just very easy to angry, but also easy to like, but it's at the same time he's very,
Did they have particular lessons that they taught you as a young boy growing up? Wisdom of sort of the nomad life, if you like. The particular lessons they taught you?
Yeah, of course. But usually they tell, but I think more I can remember usually we follow the orders or uncles or auntie or mom, dad is busy or grandparents. So usually always we learn the watch, what they do. That's why we usually they not really teach that here you go to apprentice, you do this, do that. We don't really that data much. But always you as your children playing with the orders or what order you do. So you just follow them. So basically we're picking up the on ways, not really that much, or there some ways, like a good lesson, you don't fight, you don't do the bad things, just they teach, but some skills not really like details. So basically you watch what they're doing, so then you just pick up.
Okay, so it must have been was it hard for them to send you off to the monastery, being the eldest son? It must have been quite hard for them, or I suppose because you were sick they had no choice really.
Yeah, they not really choice, and but I think also they're happy that I'm survived in my life. So, but when I grew up, I grew up with my uncle. So my mom's brother. So I more grew up with him. Mm-hmm. So probably like more character with my uncle. So yeah, but yeah.
Okay, so you moved to the monastery. So tell us about life in the monastery. What was that like? Did you enjoy that life?
Yes, it is enjoy, and but also when you come to the monastery, so basically a lot of like responsibility. Also it's not easy to just go to the prayers, do things, come home. So basically you cook on it all. And also when you go to the monastery, also monastery have each week we call it Kansen, but it's like a class max kind of class. So each class go to the maybe 6, 7 months, depends on the whole monastery bigger. So then we cook this week. My classmates have to cook and dish, everything, washing, clean up, do things, and the next week another one. So individually, everyone have the do and the responsibility, and aside of the you learning. So the memorizing. You early morning you get up, and late night you go to bed. So yeah. So
you're spending most of the day sort of learning Buddhist scripture.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I know you're no longer a monk, obviously.
Yeah.
Have those teachings stayed with you? Those teachings of those times?
Yes, it is, and I think especially all the teachers are telling the lot of patience, a lot of the Buddhist the way of live life things. I think really young age kind of they went to monastery to learn things, and especially you living in the West and busy life, it is really hard. Really, yeah.
Okay, so what made you decide to leave then?
I was 14, 15, I don't know, can't remember exactly, but around there, and something not really fitting in the way I living and where I there. Because when you catch the bus or you go to the towns, always wherever you see a lot of Chinese around, and not only Chinese, but the Chinese communist. Not all the Chinese are bad. That there's a really good Chinese, but the more communist Chinese come to towns, and they make you really kind of look down. You dumb, you don't understand anything, so that kind of things always Italian. And for example, you go to catch the bus, and the basically all the seats they're taken, and you have to stand up there. But then they say that you have a smelling, like a yak, milk kind of smelly things. They the close the doors, kind of this stuff. So you see these things, it's kind of quite hurting, what's different, and so always question myself. And at the same time,
so quite insulting.
Yeah, and at the same time, you go to all the markets, everything's taken over the Chinese business, and so you basically deal with them. And deal with them, they always look you down, so, and I, that's for me, is my personality is someone do nice for me, I will do nice for them. If someone look down on me and push me, I don't like it, and I push back. And so I fight with them, and so then local police take me in a few nights, keep in a police station, they let go, come out, fight again, and then put me back. So yeah, things happen often. So that's why I really not really enjoy like living there. Like it's not really like peaceful, and not also like not like especially that as a Tibetan and as a Buddhist, the Dalai Lama is our like spiritual leader and also our like the political leader, and we can't keep the Dalai Lama's photo, and so. If someone come to the Dalai Lama, they say bad or something, that's hurt the more than someone said that my parents are bad, So yeah, so you can't basically keep the Dalai Lama's photo or anything. You not allowed to praise for him or things. So that pushes me not really the living there. So I have to move. So I have to.
So was this a decision you made yourself, or you made in discussion with other people? Do you do it very secretly, or how did it happen?
Well, I just did my secret. I make a decision myself, and I keep it myself. So by myself, so I didn't tell even my parents or my, like my siblings, my brother or sister. I haven't told anybody.
What about other people in the monastery?
Well, depends really. How to really you trust anybody? Sometimes it's difficult because, for example, I try telling you something what I want to do things, but you not mean to telling, but you telling the others, and the other telling others. So sometimes go the words going up. So then sometimes what are my dreams, or things they will like the squish or the cross. So sometimes if you have really want to chasing your dream, sometimes keep it secret, and you do like make your own your decision, and then you just do it.
So you just left on your own.
Yep.
And you went on that. It's a 2-week trek, isn't it? Roughly from Tibet to Dharamsala.
Tibet, no. So where? And from east Tibet, where I come from, the Amdo. From Amdo to central Tibet, Lhasa, that's the capital Tibet.
Okay.
So it took me 5 to 6 days. And it's by car.
Oh, you went by car?
Yeah, and it took me about 5 to 6 days. And then when I got there, and then started you looking for the the guard, the tour guard, someone have you pay like money, and so somebody take you to basically across the border to Nepal.
Okay, so you have to pay someone. There's a sort of a guide.
Yeah, and so once you go to the central Tibet in the Lhasa, and then you slowly you can hang around there. You can see the people, and so who is interested going to the escape from Tibet to India. So you slowly talking, so people knows each other things. So then we just make a groups. Then we have to looking for the guard, someone taking you. So we have to pay the money. So
how much did you have to pay?
Well, back that time, that was 1993. So about like 3,000 to 4,000 Chinese yuan each, and so
that would have been a lot of money, I imagine.
It is a lot of money. That's probably like 1 year, probably you saving, or maybe more, depends really. And so also not that, but you pay that one, but also not guarantee that you will like make it there. And so yeah, and when you make a decision, so I thought this is the final chapter of my life.
Was it a difficult trek, that trek across the mountains?
Yes, we did, and it took about like it's almost a month.
A month?
Yeah, almost a month. So during the day we have to hide in, sleep in or hide. Night time we have to walk. So and
you're hiding what from the Chinese?
Yeah, Chinese, the border security, the police. So yeah, and
So you're walking at night, and walking through mountains at night must be dangerous.
It is, and if the full moon, and so the weather clear, so the moon you see, but if the dark days, it's really difficult. So really there's like water, there's a snow, there's a big
Big cliff.
Big cliffs, like probably 30, 40 the meters all the way cliffs. So a lot of danger, yeah. So
and I imagine some people don't make it.
Yes, no, actually I saw some people the frozen bodies, People die, people force their leg, they force their nose, a lot of things you can see. Yeah, you cross the, through.
And not much to eat, I imagine, either.
No, so we carry the on the food, and so once that finish, that's it, the finish. So usually I haven't done, but I have some stories that the people wear the leather shoes. So you have to chew the leather sort of things, but I haven't done. But I had to really we have 7 or 8 people together, and we made it. But we have food really we shared what we got. Everybody shared together, and basically the zamba that was made from the barley, and then just clean and cold water with mix and drink. So yeah.
So you made it to Dharamsala, and I'm going to fast track our story a little bit, because that's where you met Helen.
Yes.
And so your life changed when you left Tibet to go to India. Big change for you.
Yeah.
But another big change happened when you met Helen. Can you tell us how you met Helen?
Okay, so the Helen I met in Dharamsala, and little we call the little Lhasa. So it's probably people been there Dharamsala, so people know, but even people haven't been. So it's where the Dalai Lama that lives. So so a beautiful place, and I have a small coffee shop. So surrounded there. So I opened a small coffee shop. So yeah. And Helen's.
So you gave up being a monk?
Yeah, I gave up the monk in about 1999 or about 2000, I think between there. And so then I went to the university, Tibetan University in Varanasi. I was deep study there. I come back in Dharamsala and then working, and then do a lot of things. So cooking, so kind of the chef, do things and saving money, and then slowly open the coffee shop, and so yeah, I met Helen on my coffee shop.
So how did that happen?
Well, I put in something magic in the tea.
You put a love potion in the tea, Kunchok.
Yeah, and she came to my coffee shop, and so quite a nice story is she had a dreams, and she said she had a dream, and the dream in. Her teacher gave her a CD, and the CD cover had the one man, and her teacher said that this is good enough for you. And so she looked at the CD, and the CD cover had the man. The next day she came in the Kora, kind of the language we call the Kora. So she came up and she came to the cafe. She saw me. So she had the dream, and the man as she dreamed she saw me, and then she dreamed the man in the city car. That's the me. So
so the CD was of somewhat Tibetan music or something, was it? Or
she just dreamed. So she had a dream.
Oh, so
It's not like her. So yeah.
It's
quite complicated, but yeah. So then so then she comes. So then we had a chance. So I can't really speak English. So like a very little bit, and she studied Tibetan, so she can speak Tibetan a little bit. So we kind of communication like half Tibetan, half English. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
That's all we met.
So you fall in love.
Yes.
And you come to Australia.
Yes. Then I come to Australia. Yeah.
And you have 2 beautiful children called Tenzing and
Seppo. Yeah.
And there they are.
Yeah.
And you spent, about 20 years in Australia?
No. 14.
14?
14, almost 15.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
15, yeah.
And then you decided that you wanted to go back to Tibet.
Yes. Well, I want to go back to Tibet like a long time because of my mom and dad's life and my, all the sister brothers' life, but the Chinese doesn't give me, let me go back to Tibet. So then I waited, and so when I come to Australia, and I become Australian citizen, and then I become Australian Aussie, and so I got an Australian passport, and then I went to 2008, apply for visa, and they knocked me back, so they didn't give me visa. I came here, I think 2 months, and they didn't give me visa, and they said, you are Tibetan, so you're born in Tibet, so you escaped from Tibet, so not welcome to China or Tibet. so they didn't give me visa. They gave visa to my children, my wife's parents, but they didn't give me. So then my family, they don't want to go without me because they haven't met my family in Tibet, so they wanted me. So I'm the between the bridge. So they wanted, so we couldn't went back. So then
and this is this generally true that Tibetans have this problem of getting a visa to go back to Tibet?
Yep, all Tibetans. And also another thing is, the Chinese say that Tibetans are part of China. But if the Tibetans are part of China, then what Chinese people write, so we are allowed to write, but as the Tibetan people don't have any passport. That's why all the Tibetans escaped from the Tibet to India. And so, we don't have any passports. So we don't have a Chinese passport, we don't have a Tibetan passport. So without a passport, you can't leave the country.
And they don't accept your Australian passport?
No, and so then 2013, we apply again. And so we wait nearly 2 months, and then after that, they called me capital of Australia, the Canberra, and the Chinese embassy over there, so they sent me there, and they interviewed 2 hours interview over there. And so in the 2 hours interview, so basically last 5 years where you live, who you contact, where you're working for, last 10 years, last 15 years, last 20 years, all the way back, all the data they want, and include in Australia my family members, my wife's children, my wife's family, basically all the names, their age, their address, everything they took. So, and all the 2 hours interview, and after they said to me that we don't know guarantee you get it, but if you get it, then during your visit back to Tibet, so during your visit you're not allowed to talk about any any Dalai Lama, and you talk about basic human rights. If you're not allowed to talk about the Western lifestyle. And then when you journey back...
So you weren't allowed to talk about anything, really?
And then when you journey back to Tibet and then come back to Australia, you're not allowed to talk about anything in Australian people while you journey back to Tibet, or what you see, what you hear, so you're not allowed to talk about anything in Tibet. If you do something like this, so you will never ever see your family in your life.
So what are you thinking when you're hearing this? Are you thinking, bugger you? Or what's going through your mind when they're telling you this?
Well, that time actually I said yes, because I needed a visa, I want to see the family. I haven't seen my family in 21 years. And so my mom said that's hurts most. My mom said often, she said, before I die, I want once I see your face again, one more time in my life. And so that makes me really kind of sad. I really want to go back and see. But another part of the Chinese don't give me the visa, so that my family don't really understand that there's a visa, there's a process, go through the things, so they don't understand this stuff. And so it is really difficult between a lot of explanation things, and and then went back to visit the family, and they gave me a visa, but it's really tough that during the visit, and they always follow me, and the Chinese, the people follow me, and during the visit, I'm back to see the families, and they follow me about like a week and a half, basically the day and night, where I'm meeting, where I'm going, they always follow me.
When they say they followed you, could you actually see them?
Yes, I saw, and actually at one point I went to them. Why you follow me? Like really quite annoying. And they said, no, it's your safety. They said, in your safety. And I said, I'm safe. This is my home. This is my people. I'm safe. You don't need to follow me. So they did follow. It's really tough, and you can't really normal conversation with the family. Yeah.
So you go back to Tibet, and there's you with my
relatives.
All your relatives.
Yeah. And I didn't tell really my wife like exactly how big is my family. But back when I went to my family, see my family, my wife met my family. She actually really shocked. She thought like whole town just coming to see me. But I said no, whole town is my family.
See, this is all your family.
Yeah, because probably 5th or 6th generation. So my uncles, aunties, so all my mom's side. So we have usually probably around over 500 families. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But my mom's mom, grandmom have 9 sisters.
9 sisters.
9 sisters. The 9 sisters basically like they grow up. So right now we have like the cousins or probably over 500.
500.
Yeah, that's my mom's side. Yeah.
That's your mum's side.
That's my mother's side. And then my father's side maybe a little bit less, but yeah, so it's a big family. So
Big family.
Very big family.
So what are you eating there? I mean, what's the feast?
So this is made with Tibetan kapsi. So we call that, Tibetan kapsi is made from the dough in the flour and deep fry.
Okay.
So it's a kapsi and it's a lot of kind of lollies and actually my son come and he said, Daddy, where's a table? And I said, we don't have a table. Like we basically bag through and then chop all feed the fruit. Then basically whenever you're hungry, you just eat and come. And so when you eat, you're full, then you go off the plane. And then when you're hungry, you just come out. And so food is always like you live there. So then this is kind of the picnic. So for one way back, so visit the family. So the families all get together 3 or 4 days. So basically, the kind of the party.
It must have been a very emotional experience for you seeing all these people.
Yes, it is, and I grew up. My cousins, they have already they are already they are grandfather.
Grandfathers,
they children, and they have children.
Right.
And then a lot of things I haven't never met in my life. So the new fights and new people you have to new cousins and new nieces and nephews you met. All the things, yeah, it's a big change, but at the same time, it's a big emotion, really like kind of the mixed emotion, sad and happiness emotion.
Yeah, but it must have been great to be back.
21 years, a long time.
21 years,
yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously in 21 years a lot of things change.
Yeah.
So what did you experience going back after 21 years? What did you see that had really changed?
Big changes, environment.
Yeah.
Destroy a lot of environment. That's the big change I see. And another big change is the culture. Destroy the culture.
All right. Well, let's focus on the cultural changes,
yeah.
and then we'll come back to the environment in a second.
Yeah.
What sort of cultural changes did you observe?
The cultural changes. A lot of the young and teenagers, about 20 or under 20s, they all not have any educator, or they have educated the Chinese educator, and so basically, and then they live a lifestyle like a Chinese kind of the style, and living there and speak like Chinese, and so. And all the there's a big gap. People living in a nomadic life, and then the family members went to school. The school's more like a Chinese communist, or the brainwashed, or the educated them. Then they come back to, and then those when educated, and the people family living back the nomadic life living there, and there's a very big gap. And they not really like a kind of it's difficult to live if your family kind of difficult to live together, because one part of already the brain kind of put the Chinese culture, Chinese all the material, all things, and another one of families have basically the traditional culture, traditional life and live. That's so it's a lot of
So people still living the traditional life.
Yes, there is.
Still going on. But much fewer people, I suppose.
Not many. It's really less. Every year more and more, more less year.
Okay, so let's talk about the impact then of Chinese culture a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, I did my research, and I went to the Xinhua Net website, and the Chinese will say that they liberated Tibet, that they've civilized Tibet, and they talk about all the poverty, alleviating poverty in the country, educating people, moving people out of fragile lands into more better environmental conditions. So when you hear that sort of stuff, what do you think? I mean, they're basically saying that they've improved the lifestyle of Tibetans quite a lot.
Well, I don't really see it that way. And yes, there is some ways, maybe, you know, like the living conditions, maybe, you know, they build the like house, they build the road, they build the like electricians, a lot of things they build, and that way maybe your life can fit, and you know, a lot of things access easy to, and things. But they built not for the Tibetan people, they built for the Chinese, and easy to come to in Tibet and easy to control, and that way they built, and that way they did. And for example, like and small towns, like usually back where I come from, so usually we live in the nomadic life, so not living everybody like, you know, the neighbor is, your neighbors are probably maybe 3-4 kilometers away. And so usually that way you live, because you have quite big poverty and a small, you know, the small population and a big poverty. And so that way. And now Chinese bring every nomadic life, people living that way, so bring together, and they build a house, the same design, same like kind of the exactly same flat, and they build all the nomadic people life bring into put a shop there, and then they divide all the land, and okay, this land is for you, this land for you, and so they made it that way. And then if you do this, and then, you know, like 4 seasons, this land is only yours. So then, if the animal, you know, like back, usually we move around. So now we can't move. One place you stuck.
So you can't move around.
No, you can't move.
So they've effectively stopped the nomadic lifestyle.
The land is very precious. Then you have to build the fence. That case, all the fence, the material you go to China, you buy. So that means there's all the lot of money is going to China, money in China go to. And then also the builders, all the things have to Chinese people have to come build. The Tibetans not allowed to do things. So the Chinese basically the builder, carpenter, or the restaurant, everything is control, and it's all the shops. So yeah, so basically they all control. Even so, all the small, like, you know, the market, you bring things, they bring to in the town, and then they bring all the plastic, like wrapping plastic bottles, all bring. So then yeah, it's a lot of more problem.
So they had a big impact on nomadic life in Tibet. Yeah. What about the religious life? Because that's a very important part of Tibetan life, isn't it? The Buddhism, practice of Buddhism.
Yeah.
How was the Chinese presence affected that?
Well, so far as I know, and I come from East Tibet, where I come from, my monastery, the Kirti monastery, and so it's around 700 to 1,000 monks living there, and now they reduced down to all the monks. They're not allowed to stay in the monastery, and they kick back to home, and they destroy all the lot of monasteries, the houses, and they destroy. And then the educations or the Chinese system bring, you're not allowed to do what you want, the traditional way, the religion. All the monastery, the leaders, they all do the studies, your traditional way of the Buddhism you study, you're not allowed to, and you can't carry or hang the Holy Dalai Lama's photos, or you're not allowed to like any basically Chinese what they wanted to do things. They're so funny. So there's not any really like.
And what happens to Tibetans who resist?
What do you mean?
Well, they protest or they resist. They still want to practice those religious practices, like, you know, talking about the Dalai Lama and having his photo there, and practicing in the normal traditional Tibetan Buddhist way.
If you do the protest, or for example, they say one person get up the long life of Holiness Dalai Lama, or return back to Holiness Dalai Lama, say something, at least 5 to 6 years in jail. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to keep in the Dalai Lama's photo, or you're not allowed to the Tibetan national flag or something. You carry something at least 5 to 6 years in jail. So it's simple as that. Since the started 2008 until now, there's a Tibetan 160, I think over 160 something Tibetans, they burned themselves.
Self-immolated,
yes,
yeah.
And they're saying that individually, the mothers, fathers, students, monks, nuns, all the ages like around the 50 to 60 and the 17 years old, between there, all they burned themselves. They say that the Dalai Lama returned back. In a long life, the Dalai Lama, Tibetan need freedom, basic human rights. They're not seeking, they're not asking that we are like independent order. They basically they say that we want to Dalai Lama return back to Tibet, and we want to basic freedom. That's what they're asking.
Yeah, yes, there's lots of independent reports of sort of rape and torture and abuse of Tibetans in jails as well. Mm-hmm. Those have been arrested. So there's human rights abuses going on as we speak, I guess. There's also been a big impact on Tibetan
this is all
Chinese tourists.
When I journey back to Tibet, I took a kind of the secretly really, and you can't really take in the the normal but this is one of the Tibetan as a Buddhist and holy place. Right now, it's like a tourist, or like a 99% Chinese around there, and so everything you go, they're making the money, and the money is all the direct to go back to China. And you go to the big temple, they have to pay money. You go to the, they do something with the practically, the religion where you do things. Basically, you have to buy the ticket. All the ticket sellers Chinese, and the ticket, the money is going back to, to China. And then also the Lord Chinese, like the tourists. And I feel not really like a holy place when I went there. Really like the one I childhood, I always like the beautiful and amazing things I heard, and but then after 21 years, we went back there, completely different, completely changed, and it's quite really sad, and
And there's a big impact on the environment as well.
It is, and see, this is actually a blue lake, East Tibet, one of the biggest lake I think in Asia, and 370 kilometers surround, that big, it's a lake. And when I left Tibet, 21 years, I came to actually come through this lake. There's nothing having like a building or anything. It's basically like the grassland, lot of like animals, like the wild animals, and all then nomadic life living around there. So it's an amazing place. And after 21 years when we went there, so basically a lot of like destroy the land, and never grow up the grass someplace, and then they build a lot of big the
dams and so on.
Dams or things, and but we're not allowed to go there. So what they're doing, what they're built for, I don't know. So yeah, surround all the like the Chinese, and then see that the big mountains. They do the horse and through the mining, and all the mining, the posing or the water stuff go down. Usually that's the one of the biggest river in East Tibet. And no, there's not a river. There's a little river that's completely like destroyed and so poisoned. So you can't drink, and all the fishes, all the animals die, and everything's basically really going quick.
And you took this photo not for the children, but for the rubbish, the plastic.
And I took the this is all my nieces and nephews, things all, and I took because. As you Tibetan nomadic life, and when I grow up, we don't have any educator for the look after the land. We don't need it, because 99% we eat the food, and basically we can't eat. We throw go back to the compost for the land, and so basically like there's not having like the bad any for the environment, and no. And there's like the 99% all the Chinese businesses bring to the nomadic life, all the side of the grassland, they bring the selling the all the like this stuff, and then all the children and all the elders, they all buy picnic, build for grassland everywhere. They put the tents, buy this stuff, drink, eat, and then leave all the rubbish, and then they go away, and then all the rubbish, the winds, go through the rivers, the lakes, and die the animals, all the things happen. So like, and it's really sad, and that's all, and those children, I don't know how these children have the future life, what happened, it's really sad, and there's not have any education, given the environment. If you eat this, for example, Australia, here's a compost, here's, the rubbish, you do these things, there's nothing happening this, the educator. And we gonna, me and my wife, and we just collect, they think a little bit we are funny, we collect the rubbish. Yeah.
Now you wanted to start up an education project, because I know you feel really deeply about this, and you want to give something back to your community.
Yes.
And you wanted to start up and build schools.
Yes, I did, and that's was when I went back to Tibet in 2013 and see all the things. And my hometown, I don't have any school, and all your children, if you wanted to send to school, 2 hours by car, 2.5 hours by car. And so there's a lot of, the children, the family poor, or the single mother, or, the orphan, like the dad, mom, both die, and the children living with the grandparents, or things. A lot of children, like street, they just hang around, and so see this stuff all, and because this community gave my life, and they gave me, and they hope, and they when they see me, and I'm living the overseas, and so I can help them. They all a lot coming to see me. They gave me the lot what's it called not welcome, but they come into they expected that that I can help.
Have an expectation.
Yes,
you can help
yes,
them.
exactly. That's what. And so that makes me a lot of pressure. Then I come back to Australia and have to do something, and then start a photo, and especially I sell my photos, I go to talk, I do things, and I do the gardening and things, and I with a little bit saving money, and I thought maybe build the little school for the hometown, and then maybe go to these children can go to the 2 hours away, then in the hometown basic started the language, started the education, and then they sent to the big school. That's kind of a plan. But then 2 or 3 years later, and I contacted back, so I can't build the school because the Chinese, the villages, individually all have a hometown. There's the town. There's police stations, and those people, I don't know who knows that we conversation. They always listen, and so they basically told my uncle, not allowed to build, not allowed to any school here. If you build the building, just empty building, you're not allowed to. So then I can't. So that's stopped. But then I started a little bit saving the monies, and I try to maybe send some children, give for a sponsor, and then they send to school. So that way, pay for the effort, or what's called the fees.
Most human rights sort of experts will say that Tibet is probably the hardest issue. I mean, even after the wall falling in Europe and at the end of apartheid in South Africa, but freedom for Tibet is the toughest issue because of the power and the economic power and influence of the Chinese. So what do you see as the future for Tibet?
I don't know really. It's really difficult. Every year, tough and difficult. Especially, for example, a lot of Australian, my Aussie friends, when I say them, they said, "Oh, did you see your family? When you going to go back to, see your family, or have you talked to your family?" But it's not really easy, you grew up the independent, free country, whatever you want to do, whatever you say, and you can, but we can't. So even I talk back to my family, basically they all listening. Everything, all conversation they listen. So I can't do any basically what do you eat today? How's your weather? That kind of basic. I can't go deep. So It's difficult, and especially destroy the land, then destroy the culture, and then they're not really left, isn't it?
So
and also the Dalai Lama, and it's really like get older, and so Chinese already started whether the next Dalai Lamas they're going to choose in the Dalai Lama. That's what they're talking about. And another thing, as in Tibet, we have the religion where we have two big lamas. One is the Panchen Lama, one is the Dalai Lama. The Panchen Lama, the 11th Panchen Lama is passed away in 1989. And so Chinese opposed it. And so the one he passed away, then the 10th Panchen Lama, the 11th Panchen Lama, and 1995, the Dalai Lama chose the boy was 5 years old. 1 week later, Chinese took away him and his parents. Since 1996 or 97, they took away until now. So youngest political person in the world. So he was 5 or 6 years old. So.
I mean, I can really hear your passion coming through this conversation. So, you know, it must be really frustrating for you being here. I mean, you enjoy being in Australia, living in Australia, but a part of you is still back in Tibet.
Yes, my whole heart is back in Tibet. At the same time, you know, I'm really worried in Australia too. I'm always a conversation with my some friend. I said, you know, like one day will be Australia taken over Chinese, and some of my friends said about maybe 10 years ago, they said, no way. And what Australia is not going to take us. I said, you wait and see. You will, like, you know. But now you can see that it's basically taken over even in Australia. This is not my children's home. I don't want this Australia become to my home, you know, in Tibet. So it's happening everywhere. And but yeah, and it's when I went to visit back to Tibet, and basically the Chinese said to me that you are Australian citizen, you have Australian passport. That doesn't mean nothing. Once you go back to Tibet and China, you have 10 different countries' passport. It doesn't mean nothing. Whatever we want to do, we can. That's what they say.
So given it's such a tough situation, Kunchok, what keeps you going? What keeps you, you know, believing that change is possible?
Well, you know,
what keeps you going?
Life's purpose, isn't it? So you're born on something with purpose. And so useful purpose. So as a Buddhist, I'm not, you know, I'm a Buddhist. I'm a, you know, I was monk things, but I don't really like much prayers or meditate or, you know, not. But I always say, you know, that what Holiness Dalai Lama said, that good human being, you know, that be good human being. So if you can help others, do. If you can't help others, live. Don't hurt others. So that's always kind of my, you know, like. Keep me kind of the doing so.
Keeps you going.
Keeps me going. At the same time, you know, like yeah, and this is a responsibility because I'm the voice of the Tibet. People living inside the Tibet, so they don't have the fire inside. They need smoke somewhere, have to go, but there's nothing. So the fire inside is basically so that's happened every day. Torture, every day die, every day killing. So I'm a voice of them. So I try to, as much as I can, tell the people stories. And stories I'm not telling usually I see or I hear. No, I'm telling the stories usually my family story. On my sister, she Chinese killed. She was about 17 or 18 years old. Chinese killed my sister, and my two boys Chinese put in jail. One's 8 years, one's 7 years. So. And my grandparents is Chinese killed in jail, so for my family. But it's not only my family. If you ask any Tibetans, individually happened to all the Tibetan families happened, same exactly. But at the same time, also people have to understand that Chinese is not really bad. I'm talking about the really communist. But there's really beautiful Chinese people. And you know, when I grew up and I have good friend of Chinese people. But what the Chinese do, really communists, they give a wrong educator. They always said, for example, I have met maybe a few years ago, one Chinese girl living in Sydney, but she's been in Australia more than 20 years, and she's a communist. I met her, and she knows I'm a Tibetan. Where she quite really first, she really quite angry with me. But slowly we talk, and she said that the Chinese government usually said that Tibetan people really bad. The Tibetan people angry with the Chinese. The Tibetan people don't like Chinese people. That's all. She said that always Chinese government say us. I said no. That's completely wrong. But the best thing is always to see yourself. I say, don't listen to others. You see yourself. So that's the best thing you have to learn, really.
Thank you, Kunchok. It's been a real privilege hearing you and hearing your passion and you sharing your story with us. Thank you very much. I'd like you to give Kunchok a round of applause. And I'd like to open the floor up to some questions, if people have questions for Kunchok.
Do you know if people are still coming out of Tibet?
Since 2008, basically 95% probably completely. The problem is Nepal and Chinese do together. And so the Tibetans, you want to come to the India, you can cross the Himalaya, come through the India or the Nepal. So the Nepal police in jail, catch him, take him back to give to China. So it's very less. So that's why at the moment in the ex-Tibetan government, like in India, all the schools are actually less every year. Like all the schools. So back when I come, the 90s. Probably at least every year, at least 7,000-8,000 Tibetans come in. And 7,000-8,000 Tibetans at least come every year. And so since 2008.
And Tibet's not a large population, isn't it? It's only, it was 6 million.
6 million Tibetans.
So if thousands are coming every year.
Inside Tibet, outside the Tibet, all we count, so about 6 million. Yeah, and so, but also, since far as I know, when I was young, so also the Chinese put this rule: Tibetan each family not allowed to more than 2 children. So or you have to do the abortion, or you have to pay the money. So usually we call the 30 children come and they have to pay the 3,000 yen something. We usually pay the children. Sometimes they make names and the nicknames. They are the 3,000 yen children things. So
3,000.
Yeah. So you have to pay. So they or you have to abortion. So So that's happens a lot. So that makes the population more. Yes.
I once had the privilege of listening to the Dalai Lama in the UK and gave a talk in Cardiff, I believe, and I was really struck by his laugh, and it seemed to fill the whole room. But I wondered whether you've met him or been in his presence, and what it is that keeps him going. I know his deep faith, but what do you think is his feeling about what comes next? Not personally, but I met in the interview a lot of a lot of people, and go to bless and I see him many times, and I don't know how he going to keep doing this, but for me, every year, once a year, I see him or I listen to his teaching or even his voice. That makes me really kind of keep going. Can make me sometimes upset or angry, things. But then when I listen to Holiness Dalai Lama's voice or things, teaching, that makes me really the better person, keep me calm. For example, sometimes when I met Chinese people, the Chinese people really angry with the Tibetans, and I sometimes question myself: they took my land, or we took their land? Suppose I'm angry with them or they're angry with me. Why are they angry with me? And the reason. And sometimes, yes, I'm a human. I'm angry with them. But then I listen to the Dalai Lama's, the teachings or things. Then, this, and give me the peace, peace or the really the compassion or something. So good feeling. So, but I don't know really Holiness how he's doing this. But as a Buddhist, he's the enlightenment. He's basically he can see the future. you know, like everything. So, but yeah.
What did he say? He said the Chinese existed to teach me patience. Didn't he say that once?
Yes, he said, yeah. He said that's the good lesson for me. That what Chinese push me, that make me do the more compassion, more than give me the lessons. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
How did you find your initial escape or journey?
How I find her?
Yeah.
Well, when I left, I made the decision really clear and very strong. This is my last chapter of my life, or might have a new chapter. If I start a new chapter, it will be a good chapter. And when I left the Tibet, that many chapters, might the Chinese catch me and put back in the prison in jail, or if they catch me, they might shoot me, kill me. So, but whatever happens. I wanted to follow my dreams, chase my dreams. So I made a decision, and once you make a decision and clear, doesn't really matter for me. And it's very simple. So die or life. You have to do. So and I crossed the Himalaya, and yes, some days really tough days, and food, physically, mentally, but keep going, so chasing the dream. So yeah, so it is really tough. Yeah.
Kunchok, I'm seeing some very uncomfortable parallels between the behaviour of the Chinese in Tibet and the history of our behaviour towards our indigenous population. It's probably not fair to ask you what you think of that, but do you see any lessons?
Well, for me, when I see the indigenous people, for example, when I become Australia citizen, ceremony, I did the Katoomba local council. And that time, so the David Campbell, so he's the indigenous, and he gave it the indigenous cultural side. And so when he did, and after I see him, I gave him a hug. Actually, I have tears come because I feel the heart. Because I said usually Auntie Carol, I have a lot of connection with the indigenous people. I respect them, and I usually say to them, what happened to you, what happened to me, I can feel your heart because I'm going through that way. And so that's why I always say to them, I really feel them because of what happened to you, what you feel, I can feel because I go through that way.
So they've got nowhere to escape to.
Well, so yes, but so another thing, that you see the indigenous flag in not much Sydney you see, but in the Blue Mountain you see, and that makes me really quite happy. The side by side Australian flag and the indigenous flag things you see, quite like another way respect also. But yes, of course, some ways yes, the indigenous lot of leftover things happening. But I really feel them. Yes.
Will the Chinese replace the Dalai Lama with a Chinese educated Panchen Lama?
Yes, Chinese did the Panchen Lama. They choose the Panchen Lama, and they keep the person, the Dalai Lama choose the Panchen Lama, they put the jail, and then they choose the Panchen Lama. No, they're talking about the Dalai Lama, they wanted to choose it, but the Dalai Lama clearly he said that he have the power of the way he wanted to born, and what he left, he have to do things, finish the job. The next Dalai Lama have to do continues that because the next 15th Dalai Lama definitely born in the freedom countries, not in China. So that's what he clearly said. So yeah, but yeah, Chinese said it. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been wonderful to listen to you. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind adding to your story a little bit and telling us how you came to live here in the Blue Mountains. And it's great that you do.
Yes, Blue Mountains is a wonderful place to live, really. And started when I come to living in Sydney, and then one day my wife said, I will take you Blue Mountain. And I said, okay, so I thought Blue Mountain. And then we drive. Then one time we just stopped, and then we have a lunch. And I thought, okay, let's go. And she said, where? We go to Blue Mountain. She said, this is a Blue Mountain. And I thought Blue Mountain is a bigger mountain, so really. So yeah, and I come here, she showed me around the Blue Mountain. And I really loved it. And not just only also the landscape or things, but the people are really beautiful, and living in the Blue Mountain people are really more open mind, more the beautiful people, and really easy to talk. And so I love the nature and the fresh air and bush walks and a lot of friends up here, and it's a amazing place to live. And yeah.
Actually, it's an extension of that. And I was just going to ask Kunchok, and I know that just you and the lobbying of the community for Blue Mountains City Council to fly the Tibetan flag here,
Yeah.
but also to a lot of the Tibetans go to the northern beaches. Now we have some community here. How many Tibetans do we have here?
We have included children, I think 63. About 63 Tibetans, and so the family started living in Spruit to all the way to Lithgow, and there's one family actually living in Bathurst. But yeah, so the mainly living in Katoomba and Allura. So yeah.
Is it difficult to say generally what their aspirations or how do they feel, in terms of just some of the difficult political situation, but what are their immediate short-term, long-term aspirations living in Australia? And I know that you play a big role to help them. What kind of areas of support do they need, or?
Well, I'm not really not that big, really help them, and that whatever I can do. But this, the kind of the community as the Tibetans always help each other, and so I find that the Tibetan and Western are different way. The Westerners have something problem or something happen things. They straight tell, straight tell and share the friends, share the tell. Tibetans have something problems or something. They usually keep it themselves, not really open anybody easily. So that's I think so. It's quite very different. But up here, the Tibetans, most of I never met, only we met in the Blue Mountains up here. They moved to Australia, we met here. And so not really easy to straight what their feelings, what their needs, things, but same time, there's a lot of the connected another Tibetan, they know another Tibetan, so they help each other. So then what we can do things that basically is a family. And so same time then we have a connectors with another Australians help, a lot of old friends, a long-term Tibetan person. For example, Leon, Sue, this is always a big side of the Tibet. The last 15 or 20 years, they are helping all the time. So yeah, and that's when they share that they need things, they're telling us. So then we can do things, we can do things. Then we ask not the Tibetan, the supporter the Australians. So yeah, that's where we do things. Yeah.
And we have a new Tibetan restaurant in Kunchok.
Yes, we do have a Tibetan restaurant, and there's two family open, so it's really lovely, really nice. So yeah, so feels always see the prayer flag that makes me home. So probably people if drive past my house as a whole prayer flag, and a lot of people said that it looks like you are the best camp. But I think my question myself, a few people are always asking me, why do you put that prayer flags? But I think the question myself is finding more. I think more, you see more prayer flags, then you feel more kind of the home. I think that's the really reality, not really religion way, but that's really, I see more prayer flags, feel really kind of the more home. So that's all, yeah.
Helen, we might have to make this the last one.
Thank you, Kendra. How old are your children and where do they go to school?
My son is Tenzin and he's 14, and my daughter is Tsepel, she's 12. They're both in the Katoomba High School. And yeah, high school, Katoomba High School. They went to the Katoomba North Public School, wonderful school, beautiful principal, beautiful teachers, and then they went to the Katoomba High School, so they really enjoy it, love it, yeah.
I'm wondering, is there a goodbye song
So goodbye song. Yeah. I don't know goodbye song, but if you want, yes, Leon, you want to say? Okay, I thought Leon wanted. Okay.
Is there or not?
No, there's not have a really goodbye song. You know, if you sing this, probably not enough time on a lot history singer. Like, for example, I come from East Tibet, but also the not lyric, but the tune. So the people know that, for example, from Sydney, people come up. If somebody sings, you hear that the tune. Oh yeah, okay, that person come from Spoon. Oh, that person come from Katoomba, because they have special tunes. The way you come from, individually, so different tunes. And at the same time, I think maybe I told the story, but usually back, like at the Tibet, we don't have like the dating side or the iPhones, the calling that you find. We usually go to sing and then make your life partner. Usually they sing and I sing, and then some girl here, so maybe she interested in that voice and that meaning the lyrics. Then she sing back. Then I sing back. So that's where you fall in love. Sometimes you don't know the other person, that other person don't have like maybe one eye, or maybe, but that's what we usually chemically connection, and usually fall in love that way we do. So singing has a lot of stories.
So it'd be very dangerous if you sang a song now, because somebody here might get the wrong impression. Somebody might sing back. I would like to thank Kunchok, and put your hands together for Kunchok. And I'm sure he'll hang around a bit afterwards if you want to come up to him. Just to finish off, we didn't get to see a few things. I just wanted to tell you about what's coming up in November. I've got a conversation with Lulu Bull, who is a local yoga teacher, and we'll be talking about her life in yoga and her experiences travelling to and from India over many years. That's going to be interesting. And just to leave you with a bit of a good feeling, feel-good feeling as you leave, I just wanted to share with you the fact that by virtue of you coming here today, you are supporting an education project, not in Tibet, unfortunately, but in Peru, which is a country close to my heart. We support children's education girls' education projects in Peru. And this is a little project that is close to my heart, and I was involved in setting up. And so by coming here today, you are supporting these Andean girls in communities up in the mountains in Peru as well. So just share that with you. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see you in the next one.